Here's a terror tale of a chick who finally wormed the proposal. Pearl had always liked living in the best of style with fine clothes, jewelry, a Park Avenue apartment, and a chauffeured Cadillac. And Pearl had always managed to find rich husbands who would be willing to keep her in the style to which she'd become accustomed. Like Freddie Howell, for instance. Freddie Howell was Pearl's latest rich husband bankroll. He was, that is, until he announced, "We're through, Pearl! I'm going back to my wife!"
Why, you cheap, no good...
Now, Freddie was gone. Pearl had lost another bill-paying husband, and the wolf was at the penthouse door. Pearl was desperate. A dozen desperate plans were formulated in her pretty red head and discarded before she remembered the quiet, gentle, lonely man across the hall.
Of course. He must have money or he couldn't afford to live in this glorified cave. He'll be a pushover for little Pearl.
She wrapped her flimsy black negligee around her shapely figure and stepped boldly into the hall as Howard Ellis locked his apartment door behind him and turned to the elevator.
I beg your pardon, but do you have the time? My watch seems to have stopped.
It's, 9:30. Pearl let Howard stare. She let his eyes travel over her full young body, just long enough. Then she put on the shy embarrassment act.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Why, we're neighbors and I don't even know your name. I'm Pearl Drake. Miss Pearl Drake.
Ellis. Howard Ellis. Oh, well, here's the elevator. Pearl inwardly cursed the high-speed conveyance that had rushed upward through the steel throat of the building and interrupted her progress. She turned and glided back to her apartment as the elevator doors closed.
Good morning, Mr. Ellis, and thank you for the time.
Not at all, Miss Drake. She closed the door, leaned back distractedly against it, and frowned.
I wonder if I overplayed my hand walking out like this. I wouldn't want him to think I'm a cheap female wolf on the prowl. He looks so proper and prudish, I wouldn't stand a chance if he thought that.
Then Pearl grinned. She walked slowly across the living room, her voluptuous figure swaying sensuously.
But he is a man. He's got all of the instincts of a man. I'll bet he can't get me off his mind.
She stopped at the desk, her mind racing, scheming, planning her next move. She fingered the dispossess notice she'd received in the morning mail.
They've given me a week to fork over $300 rent or out on the street I go. And I haven't got it. I haven't got half that much.
Pearl pondered her problem another moment, and then, with her lovely face assuming a determined air, she hurried into the bedroom to dress.
Mr. Howard Ellis is my only out. I've got to get him, one way or the other.
The elevator operator eyed her up and down and grinned lasciviously when she asked him the information she needed. It was obvious he'd heard of her plight.
I'd like to find out what Mr. Ellis does for a living. What firm does he work for?
Why don't you find out what I can do instead, honey? Pearl knew when to act haughty and indignant. Under other circumstances, the elevator operator might have aroused her interest. But now...
Why, you fresh!
She stood proud and triumphant as he rubbed his beet-red cheek where she slapped it. Then she coldly repeated,
I asked you if you knew Mr. Ellis's business.
He's a stockbroker. I think he has his own firm.
Pearl crossed the lobby to the phone booths and scanned the city directory.
Ellen Eller Ellis. Here it is. Howard Ellis and Associates Incorporated. Stockbrokers, investment counselors, 231 Wall Street.
Outside the luxurious apartment, Pearl contemplated hailing a cab, then considered her waning finances and walked up the side street to the subway. She rode uncomfortably in the crowded, roaring chasm, her dainty nose twitching scornfully at the suffocating scent of the humanity surrounding her. She tried to lose herself in her plan of strategy.
I'll wait for him outside the building at lunch hour. Of course it will be an accidental meeting.
At noon, Pearl was at the entrance to 231 Wall Street, her campaign for the conquest of the unsuspecting Mr. Ellis crystal clear in her mind.
I'll con him into taking me to lunch, and he'll see I'm no cheap dame. He'll see I got high-class taste. Uh-oh, here he comes, and here I go.
I beg your pardon, ma'am. I didn't see.
I'm sorry, it was all my fault. Why, it's Mr. Ellis. Mr. Ellis, this is a coincidence running into you like this. Oh, but you don't recognize me in my clothes, do you? I mean, these clothes. Remember, this morning, Pearl Drake, the penthouse apartment across the hall?
Oh, yes. Miss Drake in the stopped watch.
Before Howard could object, Pearl steered him to a taxi, took his hand, and led him into it after her.
You do remember. Well, I owe you something for being so kind this morning, Mr. Ellis. I'm taking you to lunch. The Plaza, driver.
The Plaza? But that's way uptown, Miss Drake.
By the time they plowed uptown through the traffic and arrived at the Swank Plaza dining room, Pearl's ebullient disposition had warmed the shy millionaire.
Vichy soise, Howard. And the roast pheasant under glass sounds delicious.
Have you got that, waiter? I'll have a ham sandwich on whole wheat toast and a glass of milk.
Through the meal, Pearl carefully encouraged Howard. By dessert, he was struggling to say something. By Booze Cafe, he'd finally summoned up the courage to put his hand on hers and blurt,
Pearl? May I take you to dinner and a show tonight?
Oh, I'd adore that, Howard.
And that night, after their date, they returned to the penthouse floor of the lush Park Avenue apartment house. Pearl opened her door and spoke temptingly in a soft, honeyed tone.
Won't you come in for a nightcap, Howie dear?
Thank you. No, Pearl. I have a board meeting in the morning and I must get to bed.
So, after a quick good night, Pearl found herself alone in her apartment, frustrated and annoyed.
I must be losing my touch.
But Howard Ellis phoned Pearl the next day from his office, and her confidence in her eventual success was restored.
Well, Pearl, what shall it be tonight?
It's such a lovely night, Howie. I'd rather not be indoors. Let's take a hansom through the park.
Pearl knew where to find atmosphere congenial to romance. The ride through the park in the hansom cab was just what the doctor had ordered. Soon Howard was holding her hand and whispering softly.
It is a lovely night, Pearl, but not as lovely as you are.
Why, Howard.
Pearl was an old hand at this game of trapping a man. She knew how to press her advantage, how to move her soft, full lips close to his, inviting.
Oh, Pearl.
And she knew how to act shy and coy and surprised when he'd finally fallen into her little trap.
I'm sorry, Pearl. I shouldn't have done that.
I didn't mind, Howie. I'm very fond of you.
Soon they were back outside her apartment. Pearl leaned against her door, fingering Howard's coat lapel and gently drawing him against her quivering body, whispering,
Kiss me again, Howie.
Pearl.
She kissed him with moist, ravishing, hungry lips. She kissed him as she knew he'd never been kissed before. And then she left him standing there, limp, trembling, gasping for breath. She locked the door between them and stood in the darkness of her apartment, grinning with satisfaction.
Once more like that and he'll be begging. And it better be soon. I've only got a few days left before I get kicked out.
It was warm the next evening. There was no moon and the sky hung dark overhead. Pearl could sense the deep tension in Howard as they walked home. She waited patiently. Finally, he stopped beneath a lamppost, and she saw a new, eager, determined look in his eyes.
Pearl, I need you. I want you.
Oh, Howard, if you only knew how much I need you.
She watched this wealthy milquetoast pull himself together manfully. She listened, shocked to the words he carefully enounced in a firm, almost formal manner.
Pearl, I want you for my wife.
What?
This was beyond Pearl's wildest dreams. Had she heard right? Was this a proposal? Now it was Pearl who was nervous. This character was playing for keeps. Not for a month, a year, forever. She had to ask him again.
Howard, are you sure? You don't know me.
I know you well enough to want you for my wife, Pearl. Pearl was ecstatic. She glowed in her unhoped-for triumph. And when he asked, "Will you come up to my apartment, Pearl?"
Oh, yes, Howie. Yes.
They went up, he holding her hand in a tight, feverish grip, his breathing quickened with excitement, and she following eagerly, anxious to convince him of his wise choice, anxious to thank him.
In here, the bedroom.
Yes, Howard.
He opened the bedroom door and shoved Pearl in. She heard the lock click behind him, heard his low-throated giggle. She peered into the gloom. "Esther, I brought another one."
Esther? Who's she?
And then Pearl saw the coffin in the gloom. The old coffin with the lid squeaking open. The pallid white figure rising from it. Bits of earth dropping from its flowing black cape. The razor-sharp snake-like fangs. The oozing spittle.
My God! What is it, Howie? What is it?
"This is my wife, Pearl. She's a vampire." Howard pushed Pearl toward the frothing, craving, hideous creature. "I told you I wanted you for my wife."
No! Oh, Lord!
And Howard sat down and watched with satisfaction as his living dead wife sprang upon the latest deserving victim he'd brought. He listened eagerly to her gluttonous slurping noises. He nodded approvingly as the pink glow came back into her sunken cheeks, and Pearl's writhing body grew paler and paler and paler. So poor Pearl finally found her last husband's sucker. Only in this case, it was the husband's wife who was the sucker. Bloodsucker, that is. Well, the old witch awaits with another of her creepy cauldron concoctions, so I'll step aside while she slings slime at you. By the way, I hear some people finally joined the EC Fan Addict Club. That's good news. I was beginning to be afraid that membership was going to be limited to, things, shall we say. Gee, now people too. Well, what do you know? Bye.